Hey, how's it going? David in Ark here, and I just wanted to put out a quick video, some helpful hints and tips if you are ever going to run a giveaway or a contest on your channel. Just some things to think about, some things to watch out for, based on very recent experience. So, first and foremost, you want to use a system that is reputable and can keep track of everything that's going on, including being able to set up certain tasks that your entrants have to perform. For example, if you want them to tweet something out, then you can set that up. If you want them to visit, I don't know, your Facebook page or post on Instagram, or depends on what you want to do. I happen to use rafflecopter.com, but there are lots of other ones. I'm not partial to one or another. But like I said, I tend to use Rafflecopter for my contests that I do, my giveaways on here. But a couple of another thing you want to think about is what is your reach? That is, who is allowed to enter. And certain countries have certain rules, and there are certain things you can and can't do when you're laying out your contest. One thing is, if you have a contest where the people have to pay to enter, then that's no longer a giveaway. At that point, it becomes a raffle or a lottery, and that is like illegal in different states and different countries and all kinds of stuff. So I would avoid that if all possible. Just and in your rules state no purchase necessary. And then a lot of countries require that you have a demonstration of skills. And that's where, like on mine, I run math problems, because in a lot of those countries, a math problem counts as a skill test, because it's not just some random luck roll of the dice. You have to understand how math works in order to solve the problem. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a big, complicated, complex problem, but there's definitely still needs to be some sort of skill involved. I believe it could be, well, I don't even want to speak what it could be. I know a math problem works, so that's what I use. I use a math problem. You also want to make sure that especially if you're going to hold a giveaway on YouTube, that you follow YouTube's guidelines for giveaways. So you can read about that. Just Google YouTube giveaways, and there's a whole thing in there about what you can and can't do. And more than that, it's also how you should do things. Whether or not you have to do them that way, it's still very helpful to follow those guidelines. And some of them you do have to follow. If it's a YouTube giveaway, there are certain things you've got to follow. So you definitely want to check that out as well. So another thing is, you definitely want to run your contest long enough that you will get enough entries to make it competitive, to make it fun. I generally put 2 weeks. So when I open up the contest, usually it's about 2 weeks, give or take, in order for the contest to get in entries. Some giveaways, maybe you want to run it longer. You want to do a month of collecting that information to help build momentum, to help get the word out. Because especially if you incorporate things like tweeting, then those folks are going to tweet out. Other people are going to eventually see them. But it could be a few days before folks see that in their timeline for various reasons. So you definitely want to set a timeline that's going to work for you. Now, if you are working with a company who is giving something away, they may have particular guidelines and say, okay, this contest is going to run for 6 months, and we need you to mention it, either in every video or have it in the description or whatever, however that works, right? So if you're giving away something that is given to you by a company for the purposes of giving it away, find out what their rules are, because you want to follow those as well. During the giveaway, you definitely want to promote it, tweet out, post messages on wherever social media you've got, make little videos, Instagram, Snapchat, that kind of thing, to get the word out, get folks interested to come by your channel. You want them to hopefully, you'd like them to subscribe, but I will warn you that if you tell people that they have to subscribe in order to join the contest, that's actually against YouTube rules. So you can't make subscribing to your channel a condition of entering the contest. So just kind of be aware of that. And then one of the things that I also do during the contest is I look and make sure that, especially like with the math question, I make sure that the answers I'm getting seem to fall in line with what the answer should be. If something seems out of place, then maybe it's my way. Maybe the problem is explaining things. And so I'll know either to clarify that then and there, which ideally that's what you want to do. Get it cleared up as soon as you can. But then at the same token, remember that for future giveaways, you want to take the time to make sure that everybody has a fair shot and that everybody understands what it is you're looking for without necessarily telling them exactly what the answer is, right? I mean, that's part of the skill, is they have to figure out what the answer is. And then after the giveaway, and this is what got me, okay, I fell victim to something that I normally wouldn't have done, but they caught me it just happened to be the exact right moment to get me. I was in between two different things and I wasn't really paying attention. So I definitely, again, I use Rafflecopter, and one of the other reasons why I like to use it is because it collects the email address when you enter. So therefore, that is the mode of conversation, and that should be your only mode of conversation after the contest. If somebody sends you, they tag you on Twitter and reach out to you, or they try to direct message you on Twitter, you can just tell them, hey, an email has been sent out to all the winners, and leave it at that. Do not engage on Twitter or any other form outside of the email address that the winner provided. Just as a sake of story, and I don't know if this was intentional or just because again, they just happened to catch me off guard, and so I kind of fell for it. But I had somebody reach out to me on Twitter and said, hey, I was the winner, and I thought that was them. So of course I gave them a prize that they didn't actually win. And so I had gone back to my email and checked, and it so happens that the person who won told me something different than the person who had reached out to me on Twitter. So it is what it is. I'm not upset. I mean, yeah, I am. I think it was a pretty crappy thing to do, but it is what it is. And here's the other part: they may not have intentionally done it, not realizing that I had a system in place, because I didn't communicate that, which that's another thing I'll talk about here in a minute. But I didn't communicate that, and I should have immediately just said, hey, I've reached out an email, so, if it's you, then great, you got the email, and if it wasn't you, then don't worry about it, then it wasn't you, all right? So that's another thing in your contest rules and that kind of stuff. Make sure people understand that you will be reaching out to them via email, and that is how you are going to get in touch with them. And or that you are going to, if, let's say, for example, you collect their Twitter handle. Okay, so then in your rules, you would say, I will reach out to you through the Twitter handle that you put on here. And then that way, you are the one reaching out to them. It's not them reaching out to you. So I would do that. I would also suggest that you have a completely different email address for your contests. There are different ways to do that. You can just, if you wanted to use Gmail, you could create a brand new Gmail account specifically for things that are not related to you directly, personally, that kind of thing, that you only use for your contest, your YouTube channel, that kind of thing. All right, so just some of those things. And then whatever your prize is, you want to make sure that, hey, you give the prize. They won the prize, so you want to make sure that you have it in whatever form or fashion in order to give it to them. In my particular case, I generally like to give out gift codes, but I give the winners a choice of whether they want Steam or Xbox or PSN, because I know different people have different things. So as part of that email communication, you're asking them, hey, how do you want this prize? What do you need to do? And then you can kind of go from there. So this actually went way longer than I intended it to, but I just wanted to give, from my experience, I wanted to give some thoughts and some insights, some advice about if you're going to run your own giveaway, some things to watch out for, some things to look for. And like I said, I'm not blaming the other person for claiming the prize. That was my fault. I should have stopped as soon as they reached out to me and said, wait a minute, I sent an email, so go check your email. Instead, I just wasn't thinking. So it happens, and how you deal with that is up to you. The way I'm dealing with it is it's a lesson learned. You go from there. It's a life lesson. You live, you learn. It is what it is. So there you go. Anyway, hope this helps somebody out there who is putting together or looking at the possibility of putting together a giveaway in the future. And so, again, I hope this helps you. Got any questions, problems, suggestions, horror stories? Feel free to leave those down in the comment section below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for helping this channel grow with your comments, with your support. Big shout out. Thank you to War Heroes Gaming, who is a supporter on Patreon. Thank you so much. If you're interested in that, by all means, you can head over to patreon.com/davidinark. You don't have to by any stretch, but if that's something you'd like to do, I definitely appreciate it as always. So thank you guys so much. We'll see you next time.